What is up, YouTube? It is the Ville Outdoors here. I am back from Florida. It is July 15th, I think. Yeah, July 15th of 2020. I am here at the French Creek, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different, something I've never done before. We're going to be doing a vintage lure fishing challenge. So recently I inherited a tackle box, and it was filled with some old lures. So let me show you some of the stuff we'll be working with today. We got some vintage spinners right there. Look at that thing. It's got two like helicopter blades on it. Real lightweight, so it should, I don't know if it'll be difficult to cast or not, but that's interesting. This one's, I don't know if this is worse or better. It's only got two of the hooks on the treble left, and it's basically two swivels attached together with some blades in between. And then we got some hard baits over here that might work better upstream. You got basically just a curved piece of wood. It's got a red and black pattern, so that should be interesting. We got this thing, basically another block of wood with a blade on the, or not a blade, a bill on the front there. Does it say anything on it? Heddon tiny floating runt. So that is a old Heddon lure right there. Older than me for sure. And then we got this guy right here. This guy doesn't have a name on him, but that's like a jointed, I don't know if you call that a swim bait or jerk bait. There's a largemouth right in front of me. I wonder if he'd eat this. And then we got this thing. This is going to be the most difficult thing to catch a fish on. I just kind of brought it as like a joke. It's basically a piece of styrofoam with some feathers in the back. I guess it's supposed to be like a little popping cork thing. I don't know what you call it. But that is what we got going on today. Some pretty cool stuff. We're going to try and catch as many fish as we can on these lures. I'm going to try and go for at least one fish on each lure and then switch over. The bigger lures are definitely going to be a bit harder just because there's not a lot of big fish in here, but I'm thinking once we get to the less pressured spots, the less traveled parts of the creek, we'll find some hungry fish waiting. So I'm going to start off with this spinner I actually have already tied on. Kind of looks like a spaceship almost, or like a rocket, but it's got the blade on the front, one of those helicopter blades. It's got two red beads on it there, and just a cone like body. Should have some interesting action. Guys, we got a little one. Little smallmouth fell for the vintage spinner. He's real little. I don't know if it's the smallest smallmouth I ever caught, but it's definitely on the list. There he is, giant. Let's let him go. Alright, now hopefully we can get one bigger than that. I might stick with this for another fish. See if we can get one bigger, because we proved that the vintage spinner can still catch fish. But I would like one a bit sizier than that little baby right there. Got fish on. This one feels a bit nicer. Oh yeah, nicer small jaw. Let's get him up here. There you go, guys. That's a better smallmouth. He's barely hooked. Hook came out just like that. Nicer smallmouth for sure. Alright, let's get a picture of this guy, switch up the lures, and let's get back to fishing. Alright guys, time to release our smallmouth bass. Let's dip him in the water, move him back and forth, and there he goes. The dual helicopter spinner, and we're going to see if it can catch us a nice fish. Well guys, I think we're getting into the more aggressive fish, because I just had my first bite on this dual helicopter lure. I'm gonna hope that we can get another one here in a bit. Oh, there we go. Oh, popped out of his mouth. A fish on this helicopter lure. Oh my gosh, that took long enough. There you go, guys. We got him. Let's see if he'll stop squirming for us. Usually if you hold him by the belly, it's supposed to paralyze him. I guess that only works with the bigger ones, or maybe I'm not doing it right, but there he is. Nice little smallmouth bass. Gonna take a shot of this guy and then let him go. I think we got one more spinner and then on the big lures. There we go. Not as big as that last one, but I've spent a while walking without catching a fish, so that's a welcome fish. All right. So this is what we're stuck working with now. Is basically, let me get a good view of it. A couple spinners, or not spinners, a couple swivels. You got one there, latched together, and there's blades in between each swivel. And the treble hook there only has 2 hooks on it. Most likely because one of the hook points rusted off. But we're gonna hope that it can still catch a fish. I spent forever trying to catch a fish on that dual helicopter lure, so hopefully this one goes much quicker. I'm already getting little tiny fish tugging at it, so that is a good sign. It's got pretty good action. Both blades work like the way they're supposed to. They're both spinning, which is good because sometimes you don't get a good blade on these old spinners. There you go, guys. We got a fish on. There we go, just like that. A little guy, but it came on the dual bladed swivel spinner. That's what we'll call it. Look at that. Basically 2 swivels. Let's get a picture of this little guy and let him go. Alright, time to release Mr. Small Jaw. There we go. Alright guys, we finally made the switch. We got the Heddon tiny floating runt on right here. It's pretty big size for the smallmouth that are in this creek. So I will be genuinely surprised if we catch a fish on this thing. But we're gonna head up right next to this dam where we got some nice flowing water, nice oxygenated water for these smallmouth. And hopefully we're gonna catch fish on this thing. Look at that action. It's got nice wobbling back and forth action. It's pretty good looking. It's got potential for sure. We just need a sizable fish to eat this thing. Guys, I think I just got hit on this thing, casting up against this lay down here. So I'm gonna do the same thing again and see if I can get bit. I got one. That's a big fish. That's a big fish. That's a big fish. That's a big fish. Come on, stay on, stay on. Stay on. Holy cow. Stay on, stay on, stay on, stay on. Stay on, stay on. Look at that, guys. Look at that smallmouth. That is huge. That is a huge smallmouth. I need to get this guy over the bank. Oh my gosh, let me lip him. Look at that smallmouth. Holy cow. Holy cow. Giant smallmouth. Giant, absolutely giant. I gotta get a picture of this guy. I gotta get a picture of him now before he gets off. That is a pig. That is a pig. Alright guys, look at that smallmouth right there. That is a big girl. That is a chunky fish. That's an easy 1 pounder for sure. Holy cow, guys. Alright, let's revive her. I'll make sure I'm recording. Am I recording? Yeah. Alright, let's revive her. Look at that fish. Beautiful, beautiful smallmouth right there. So just make sure he's good to go. Oh yeah. That's a big mama right there. Alright, so I casted right next to this lady down here in front of me. Can you guys see that? I cast it right next to this lay down, and I just saw it swirl on it, and I hooked it right in the corner of the mouth. Oh my gosh, it's such a cool fish. That might be my PB smallmouth, I don't know. I'd have to compare with the pictures from the one I caught at Pickering Creek a few years back, but that is definitely one of the biggest smallmouth I have ever caught, and that is out of a creek. I haven't caught a smallmouth from a lake, so chances of me catching a big smallmouth aren't too good when I fish creeks 98% of the time. So I am super stoked to catch that fish, and look what it came on. It came on the Heddon tiny floating runt that is much older than me. It's still in good shape, and look at that, Heddon tiny floating runt. They don't make lures like that anymore. They just don't. And that lure just caught that massive smallmouth. Massive creek smallmouth, I should say. If you go to Michigan, that's a average size smallmouth, or maybe even a small smallmouth. Guys, we switched up to this jointed swim bait, jerk bait, whatever you want to call it. Very interesting looking. And hopefully it'll catch a nice fish too. And this got some weird action on it. I don't know if I like that. Do we have this tied on right? Let's see. Yeah, this thing is swimming like upside down, so that should be interesting. It's basically just spinning in circles, so probably won't be using this one for very long. Guys, we got a fish on it. We got a fish on it. Look at that. In the corner of the mouth, so it does count. Not the biggest fish you'll see. But we did catch it. Look, see? Corner of the mouth on that, what do you call it? Jointed jerkbait, swim bait. So that right there caught this guy right here. Not as big as that last one for sure, but thank God we got that lure out of the way, because I didn't like that from the start. Alright guys, this is what we got tied on right now. Went through those other baits fairly quickly. I'm kind of surprised, but that is what we got going on right now. It's basically just a little piece of wood or plastic. I don't know what it is, but it's got a pretty rusty treble hook on the end. Little swivel on top of it. See the action. Got some really weird action on it. I don't know how I like that, but I don't like the action on the other one either, and it caught a fish. So it kind of swims back and forth. So it's got some kind of swimming motion, so that's better than nothing. At least we got something. Whether these fish would like a red block of wood, I don't know, but we're gonna find that out. All right guys, I'm slowly losing faith in this red block of wood after seeing its insanely stupid swimming action. It's kind of hard to believe that this thing could ever possibly catch a fish, even though I just got slammed by a smallmouth. Smelling something like fox or skunk around here, so that's cool. I don't know what this bait was used for back in the day, but definitely not using it for bass. Maybe you were, but a pretty dumb one if you ask me. I would not be trying to use this in a tournament, that's for sure. Guys, we did it. We did the impossible. We caught a fish on the red block of wood. Hooked right in the bottom of the mouth, probably foul hook, but I'd say it counts since it's in the mouth region. So there we go. Got a fish on that little block of wood. Not a giant, but that's a fish and that's what counts. The next one should be the real challenge though. Working with now. That is basically a piece of foam, one hook on the back, and some feathers. I don't even know if this thing is gonna cast. Alright, it's not too terrible casting distance. Guess I'm just gonna work this like a popper across the surface and hope something takes it. Very interesting looking. I'm gonna walk upstream a bit. Really got to put some muscle into the cast. I'd be surprised if we catch a fish on this, not just because it looked so stupid and it's made of foam, but because it's the middle of the day and we're working at topwater. I probably should have just went straight to this spot and done this one first. That probably would have been easier, but I wasn't thinking, obviously. Guys, I had a couple blow-ups on this little cork frog or whatever you want to call it so far, but not a whole lot. It's hard to hook up with a fish on this just because the hook's facing the bottom when you're retrieving it, so it's kind of like an awkward hook set with no trebles. So you got one shot and it's got a long feathery tail after the hook, so most of the fish just grab those feathers and don't worry about the rest of the thing. Guys, I had one on this. I had one on the frog. I don't know how it got off. That was a nicer one too. That was a nicer fish. I watched him eat that. That fish isn't gonna come back for it. He was hooked. For sure, unless you just held on to it longer than most fish do. But I saw the two smallmouth cruising along these rocks right here. And the one kind of looked at it and then like brushed it off, like shoulder shrugged it. And then the other one was looking at it and it was increasing its interest in it every time I twitched it. And then on like the third twitch, it took it right off the surface and ducked down under with it. I had it hooked for a while, and then I reached down and turned the GoPro on and it got off. Guys, that is going to do it for today's video. I could not get one to eat this styrofoam frog, whatever you want to call it. It was challenging. I got a couple blow-ups on it, but just the weird hook set up on it is just not good for setting the hook on fish, because you basically have to set it upside down, which is weird. Anyway, other than that, we had a pretty good challenge overall. We started off slow with those spinners. They didn't exactly attract as much fish as I wanted them to or thought they would. But when we switched to those hard baits, specifically the Heddon floating baby runt or whatever it's called, we caught some good fish. Well, we caught a good fish and then a couple others that were like eh. But anyway, that one smallmouth that came on the Heddon baby runt was the best catch of the day for sure. Probably my second biggest smallmouth ever and my biggest smallmouth ever out of French Creek. So that's a good day in my book. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Switched it up, did a pretty interesting fishing challenge if you ask me, fishing with some vintage lures. So if you enjoyed today's video, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe. And you can even comment if you want a part 2, or if you want to see me fish with some other lures. If you have a suggestion, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. On that note, I'll see you on the next episode of the Ville Outdoors.